Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and it is Sunday, and we are doing Breaches of the Week, and this may possibly be the longest Breaches of the Week I've ever done. I know I've said that before, but just looking at the list I've compiled here, this kind of blows the doors off of everything. I would like to give a shout out, though, to the following people: Chris Fowlan, Jacqueline Wolf, and Don Nuss. Guys, thank you very much for sending in tips and information on this. You always make my life easier. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. And given the events of the video that I did yesterday on forced child labor making Amazon echoes and stuff, I wanted to start the Breaches of the Week a little more upbeat. And so we're going to be talking about an app called 3Fun. Now, if you've not heard of 3Fun, you're not alone. This is an app that is basically designed, it's kind of like a Tinder or a Grindr, but it is for adult fun with more than one person. So you can do your math on 3Fun. Now, they claim 1.5 million users in cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, San Antonio, San Diego, Philadelphia, Dallas, San Jose, San Francisco, Las Vegas, and Washington, D.C. Now, according to the pen test partners, they have basically been exposing data. And I include the data here, near real-time location of any user at work, at home, on the move, wherever. It's exposing users' dates of birth, sexual preferences, and chat data, as well as users' private pictures, even if the privacy is turned on. So heads up, if you are using 3Fun for fun, you might be exposed. Moving on, we're heading to Maplewood, New Jersey. Now, the police department to the township of Maplewood is providing notice of suspicious activity that was discovered on their network, and there's the police department's network, and they're saying it's been remediated. Now, this malware made it basically impossible to determine if any information was accessed or what information was accessed. And so they're basically saying, hey, if you have within anything within the Mapleship network, your data that was exposed may include full name or first initial and last name, social security number, driver's license number, state ID number, or account number for Maplewood, credit or debit card number in combination with any of the required security code, access code, or password that would permit access to an individual's financial account. And right now, to date, the investigation has not revealed evidence suggesting this information was viewed or accessed, but we obviously don't know. Excuse me. So if you're in Maplewood, New Jersey, heads up to you. We are going to be moving on. We're going to be heading north of the border into the Great White North. We are going to be talking about Revenu Quebec, and I do not know if I pronounced that properly. Now, this is basically the revenue collecting agency for the province of Quebec in Canada. And they had a data breach that affects roughly 23,000 current and former employees. This is according to the police. Now, an investigation was launched on July 25th after a leak was discovered by Revenu Quebec. 2 people have been arrested in connection with this leak of personal information. And the Sûreté du Québec, and I'm assuming that is the police. I do not speak French. I apologize. I'm guessing that's the police department or maybe the government, I'm not sure. They say officers arrested a 39-year-old woman and a 46-year-old man from Quebec City on Wednesday morning, and they are expected to meet with investigators, possibly to be charged. So if you have worked for Revenu Quebec, heads up to you. Moving on, we're heading to Australia down under. There is an organization called Neo Clinical. They exposed roughly 37,000 people's contact information and their responses to medical questions, qualifying them for clinical trials, which included information about diagnosis, illicit drug use, treatments, and on and on. So if you're in Australia and you are using Neo Clinic or part of them, heads up to you. Coming back to the United States, we're going to be talking about State Farm Insurance. They are one of the largest insurance providers of like home and car and all this kind of stuff. They've been compromised in a credential surfing attack, according to a news report. Now, they acknowledged the cyber attack, filing a data breach notification with the California Attorney General as required by law, and is basically sending out a notice of data breach email to the users whose online account login credentials were obtained by hackers. Now, the insurer's data breach notification email said, and I quote, "State Farm recently detected an information security incident in which a bad actor used a list of user IDs and passwords obtained from some other dark source like the dark web to attempt to access State Farm online accounts. During our investigation, we determined that the bad actor possessed other ID and passwords for your State Farm online account. So odds are somebody culled information from the dark web and then basically used it to log into State Farm accounts. So if you use State Farm, heads up to you. Now we're heading to India, and they've had 2 breaches back to back that have been kind of interesting, both in the medical field. Now, the first one is an unnamed blood bank in India. They were leaking more than 1.1 million blood donors' personal information, and this was discovered on May 29th. The exposed data, all in plain text, in other words, not encrypted, was donors' first name, last name, date of birth, postal address, email address, home phone number, mobile number, gender, blood group type. So this open directory that they found also had other files with information on hospitals and physicians. So you've used a large blood bank apparently in India, heads up. Keeping in India, in mid-June, a multidisciplinary medical clinic had uploaded thousands of images of patient prescriptions and notes. Now, basically, they had been putting this in an unsecured Amazon S3 bucket, and they did not, basically, the researchers did not provide who this clinic was and all of that. But heads up, we have a data breach that probably is going to be large and probably is going to be exposed in India. And as I get more information, I will let you know. Heading back to the United States, we're going to Washington, D.C. for the Leadership for Educational Equity. Now, they had an unprotected Elasticsearch database that contained a total of 5.2 million documents. Now, not having set up a password, anybody could access this database, and so this researcher repeatedly tried to notify the owner via voicemail, I guess to no avail, and so he went public with this to news sources. Now, the discovery took place on July 26th of this year, and after multiple notification attempts, it was finally secured on the 31st of July. So I guess he did get a hold of them. That's good. Now, during his investigation, the researcher found that 5.2 million documents actually correspond to the information of 3.7 million 3.7 million individuals, which are members of the Leadership for Educational Equity. So if you have anything to do with them, heads up to you. Moving on into China, we're going to be talking about the University of Hong Kong's medicine department. It expressed its deepest apologies after a laptop computer containing the personal data of more than 3,600 patients was suspected to have been stolen, obviously causing a data breach for them. A police investigation is underway after the laptop belonging to the University of Hong Kong's Li Kai-shing Faculty of Medicine went missing from its office in Queen Mary Hospital in Pok Fu Lam on Thursday. So heads up to you, if you have anything to do with Hong Kong's medicine department, you may have an issue. University of Hong Kong's medicine department. Coming back to the United States, we're heading to Pennsylvania and the Lehigh Valley Health Network. Basically, a man who spent a couple of months in Lehigh Valley Hospital claims in a lawsuit that a doctor who wasn't treating him and with whom he had a contentious business relationship illegally tapped into his medical records a dozen times. Now, this is a claim that Lehigh Valley Network and the health department has acknowledged basically in letters to this patient. The case apparently led the health department recently to cite Lehigh Valley Health Network for not protecting confidential information. In June, the department posted a report from May 6th that concluded that the Lehigh Valley Health Network hadn't made changes to safeguard patient data despite the network's own findings that a physician in 2017 had perused medical information for months on a patient that a doctor wasn't treating. And so this is a very specific data breach to this individual, but it underscores the point as to why we need cybersecurity all throughout the board and why in HIPAA, one doctor that has nothing to do with the patient should be able to access that. And we've seen cases like that before, most famously when nurses and physicians were looking at Britney Spears' information when she checked into the UCLA hospital years and years and years ago. So moving on, we're going to be talking about the FDNY EMS, or that is the Fire Department of New York City Emergency Medical Service. More than 10,000 patients for whom the FDNY EMS has previously treated or transported was basically being notified that their personal information may have been compromised after an employee's personal external hard drive was lost in March. Now, this employee who actually had authorization to access these records had uploaded or copied this information into a personal USB hard drive and then reported it missing to the FDNY. Now, 10,253 patients were notified this week by mail, and basically if you were transported by the EMS, the FDNY's EMS, between 2011 and 2018, you may have been affected. So this is obviously a call for encryption because that's obviously a HIPAA violation as well. Moving on, let's keep with HIPAA. We're heading to Kansas City and Truman Medical Centers. They just got a ransomware attack. The attackers demanded money to unlock the data, and basically the hospital agreed, but they paid a small amount. In other words, they negotiated it down. And a lot of people don't realize a lot of times you can negotiate your ransomwares down or your ransoms down if you get hit. And I quote, TMC, that would be the Truman Medical Center, TMC worked with a third-party negotiator, its cyber insurance carrier, and outside cyber counsel to pay a small amount of money for which the medical center was insured. And so hopefully they've cleaned that up and secured their defenses. But if you have anything to do with Truman Medical Centers in Kansas City, heads up to you. Now let's head on over to the UK. We are nowhere near done. We're talking about Monzo. Now, Monzo is a mobile-only bank in the UK. They just asked roughly 480,000 of their customers to change their debit card PINs after discovering that they were stored in encrypted log files, meaning these log files might have been read by multiple employees of Monzo, hopefully not by outside third parties, aka hackers. And I quote Monzo, on Friday, 2nd of August, we discovered that we'd also been recording some people's PINs in a different part of our internal system in encrypted log files. Engineers at Monzo have accessed these files as part of their job. In other words, change your PIN. So if you have anything to do with Monzo, even if you didn't get notified, I'd probably change your PIN. Moving on, we're heading to Kern County, California. Now, they just had a suspected data breach that may have compromised the personal information of as many as 15,298 current and former County of Kern employees and their departments. This is according to a government spokesperson this past Tuesday. Now, this possible breach, a third-party vendor is still looking into whether hackers gained access to this, may have hit the health benefits program the county runs on behalf of its employees. Now, potential victims include retired and existing county staff, their departments, and medical staff at Kern Medical Center. And the email basically is coming from county spokesperson Megan Person. So heads up if you have anything to do with the Kern County, California government. Now, moving on from there, we're talking about something rather interesting. Researchers have discovered a botnet and basically a database that it feeds into that is dedicated to extortion schemes, primarily sextortion. And I'll get to this. Now, the researchers from Cofense Labs published a database of more than 200 million accounts that it says are compromised and being targeted in a sextortion scam. The company says that it is publishing the account information with the goal of allowing potential victims and their employees to deal with basically this threat proactively. Now, according to Cofense, the researchers discovered a botnet for hire in June. And basically, this was used to send emails with messages threatening embarrassing exposure if extortion payments are not made. We have personally seen these at Security Fanatics, from clients and all of this, where you get an email that basically says, I know what you've been doing. Here is your password because we hacked into your system and, turned on your camera. And oh my God, you're doing horrible things. So please pay me. Otherwise, I'm going to send this to your wife or your husband or whoever. And it's all BS, but I'm glad that somebody actually caught one of the databases, so good job, Cofense Labs. Moving on, we're heading back down under to New Zealand and talking about Air New Zealand, the national airline of New Zealand. They are warning over 112,000 AirPoints members, I'm guessing that's their mileage program, that some of their data may have been breached in a cyber attack. The airline emailed customers today, or actually about 2-3 days ago from this, and warned them to be on the lookout for phishing emails. So if you are a frequenter of Air New Zealand and have AirPoints, heads up to you. Moving on, we were talking about two health vendors, Medico and Amarin Pharma. They both recently reported data breaches caused by misconfigured databases, which potentially exposed thousands of patients. Now, this is according to UpGuard. A misconfiguration exposed 14,000 documents containing medical, personal, and financial data from Medico, And basically, they were using the same database apparently as Amarin, and on June 20th, an exposed Amazon S3 bucket was discovered, and basically UpGuard had contacted both. So hopefully both of those are closed, and the report states that those were closed. But if you have anything to do with Medico or Amarin Pharma, heads up to you. And finally, we are to our last data breach, which is absolutely nuts. Now, if you recall, I have been tracking for the last couple of months, it seems like the last couple of months, the AMCA breach. This is the American Medical, basically it's a billing company that like massive medical companies in the United States were using. Tens of millions, if not more, patient records have been affected due to this. Now we have a rival to this, and it's affecting grade school age children across the United States to the effect of tens of millions. And this is another one that we will see fallout from. And this company is called Pearson. Now, Pearson, from what I understand, is from the UK, and they are one of the largest publishers of print and digital textbooks. And they just discovered a data breach. Now, this breach affected more than 13,000 schools and university accounts, with some accounts containing information on hundreds of thousands of students at those institutions. First names, last names, email addresses, and dates of birth were obtained in the hack. Luckily, no social security numbers or financial information was accessed by the hackers. This is according to Pearson. So we don't know right now who carried out this attack. We probably never will. But the Wall Street Journal reports that just one district alone had 114,000 students enrolled between 2001 and 2016, which is basically the scope and range of the data that was collected. And by virtue of this, because this is essentially a supply chain hack, we are seeing school districts across the United States start to come out, and I've got some of these here because if you have kids enrolled in grade school, heads up, they may be affected by this. Even the school district in my neighborhood and all of that was affected as well. So in Illinois, if we're looking at this, we've got Naperville Unit District 203 for 50,000 students, Indian Prairie District 204, St. Charles District 303, Geneva District 304, Downers Grove, Rochelle Elementary, Casey Westfield, Addison, Joliet, Moline Valley, West Chicago. That's just Illinois alone, and that is the tip of the iceberg. Florida, Marion County, Nevada, Clark County Schools, which I think is Las Vegas, and Washoe County School District, which I think is Reno, both affected by this. In New York, Victor, Spencerport, Brighton, Pittsford, West Irondequoit, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Brockport in Pennsylvania, West Shore School District, South Carolina, Greenville County Schools, and on and on and on. Basically, if you have a kid in grade school in the United States, odds are they're going to be affected. Pearson is one of the largest providers, to these schools. So it is absolutely massive. And so hopefully they'll be able to clean that up. And if you don't have credit monitoring for your kids and you're not freezing their credit along with your own, and if your kids are under, I think it's 13 or 14 years old, you should be able to do that for them. You really need to do that. And so, whoa, those were your breaches of the week. Just looking at the time here, I think this has been the longest breaches ever. Thanks for sticking with me, and hopefully next week will be a lot calmer, but I have to imagine you're going to get both an AMCA and now a Pearson update from me on various things, because that is absolutely insane. And so that is your breaches of the week, and please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please subscribe here on YouTube as well. Thank you for watching there, and as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.